Welcome to the Beyond the Velvet Rope podcast. I am your host, Neil Oates Jr., and today we're talking about a side of leadership that doesn't show up on the org chart, the emotional weight of carrying the mission, making the tough calls, and learning when growth requires you to loosen your grip. My guest today is Mr. Mark Goldfinger, General Manager and Head of North America at Mindspace. Mark has helped shape flexible workspaces for everyone from early stage startups to global organizations. And before Mindspace, he spent years at WeWork, leading teams across multiple markets. So Mark specifically understands what it takes to scale without trying to be everywhere at once. Mr. Mark Goldfinger is also a former college tennis captain, not former athlete, Mark, right?
I appreciate that, Neil. And thanks for having me, man.
Mark is also a marathon runner. So we're going to dig into the grit, the discipline, and humility that it takes to build trust, delegate well, and grow a team that can carry the vision without you. Mark, welcome Beyond the Velvet Rope. How are you today, sir? Welcome to Beyond the Velvet Rope, where ambition meets access. I'm your host, Neil Oates Jr., best-selling author, keynote speaker, and executive business growth coach. If you're a service-based entrepreneur, executive, or minority business owner who's ready to attract affluent clients, elevate your positioning, and turn your authority into affluence, you're in the right place. Each episode, we break down how affluent people think, decide, and buy. And we give you the strategies, stories, and systems that move you from general admission to VIP in your market. For links to my book, my website, and other resources mentioned in this episode, be sure to check the show notes. Now, let's step beyond the velvet rope.
Good, Neil. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Man, I am doing fantastic. Thank you for taking time. I mentioned you're doing a lot of stuff and at a high level. I mentioned some things that you're doing, but what's one thing that I did not share about you, Mark, that you think would be beneficial to our audience, sir?
While I'm doing everything that you mentioned, I'm also still learning and balancing how to be a great family man and to make sure that I show up for my wife and my daughter, who's 18 months old.
Okay, so let's just jump right in. Ladies and gentlemen, I did share some questions with Mark, but this is also going to be very much a fluid conversation. So you are leading this organization, this global organization at a very high level, but you mentioned that you're still learning how to still lead as husband, as dad. What does that look like for an individual, whether an entrepreneur, whether a CEO of a major corporation? What does that look like on a day-to-day basis, balancing and juggling the personal side with all of this professional responsibility?
I think my wife and I would have very different answers for what it looks like. But I think for me, it comes down to prioritizing and making sure that you have like open communication with your partner. You know, I know that it's on me to get home by 6:30 when our nanny leaves so that I can be there for my daughter and I can help with bath time and bedtime. I'm in the office every day by 7:15. I get up probably at 4:30 or 5 to do my running or work out. So my wife does the morning shift. So I try really hard to prioritize my day so that I can leave the office by 5:30 or 5:45 so I can get home. Now, not every day works according to plan, as we know as entrepreneurs. But I think what it takes is really making sure that you can prioritize correctly. And even if it means jumping back online at 7:30 and maybe I don't get to really be there with my wife, you know, because we're having dinner and I'm doing emails or trying to finish up work, but really trying to make sure that I can come home and be there for my daughter is really very important.
So I know that our audience, they're these driven, motivated individuals. And you mentioned the communicating with the partner. We're not only talking about personal, we're also talking about relationally and professionally. So how does communication and prioritizing work hand in hand with what you're doing in growing Mindspace across the country?
Yeah, I think, look, I've set out with very large goals and being very ambitious, right? I think this starts with any athlete right? No one goes out and like, I'm going to be a mediocre tennis player today, or like, I'm going to be a mediocre marathon runner. Like, no, like you want to push yourself, right? Like when you're competing at that level, it's because you have a certain amount of drive inside of you to give you that hunger to go out and get a little bit more. So I think step one is making sure that your partner understands that, right? In this case, my wife, Danielle, she's seen from the very beginning that I always want to be going after more. And it's not because I think that we need more. It's just because I hold myself to such a high standard that I want to make sure I can deliver on that, not only for my wife and my daughter, but also for myself. And then I think if she can understand that, or your partner understands that, and then you translate that into the workforce and what we're doing at Mindspace, she understands why I'm working late hours. She understands why, I take calls on the weekends because our HQ is based in Israel. So their working week is Sunday to Thursday, right? So I don't have them on Friday. So I have to make up time on Sunday because I need that additional fifth day, right? And my wife understands and supports that. And that is really, I think, how this translates into what we're doing here at Mindspace. I also know that, we are building something great here, right? I joined the company about 18 months ago, and the team has done an unbelievable job of stepping up to a whole new level that I don't think HQ saw happening so quickly, right? 18 months ago, Mindspace US was at about 60% occupancy, and we were losing money. At the end of 2025, we are at 90% occupancy and we are profitable across the US, right? This is not something that a lot of operators achieve in such a short amount of time, especially when they've doubled their portfolio, which Mindspace did back in 2023, going from 3 locations to 6 locations across the US. So all of this drive and ambition is also then seen with my team on the ground, right? They see a leader and a manager who's in the trenches with them. The team comes in to open up the building where I sit in Williamsburg. I'm already there, right? They're like, oh, good morning, right? Like I typically leave when they leave and I come in an hour and a half earlier than them. Now, I'm not better or worse than any employee. We all have our own jobs to do. But I think as a leader, you need to really practice what you preach. You need to show the team that you are in the trenches with them and that you are fighting for them, because that's going to get them just as hungry, or hopefully just as hungry as you need them to be, so that we can go after the same growth.
All right, Mark. So I want to back up because once you have great energy, oftentimes you forego the technicalities or the formal order. Could you just tell us, what do you do at Mindspace? What is your actual job there, sir?
I sit and smile. I let the team do all the work, man. So I'm the general manager for North America. So on a job description, I oversee all 6 of our locations from an operations, community, sales, marketing, facilities, IT perspective. Now, in reality, what I think I do and what I think my job is I provide air cover so that the team on the ground can actually do their job successfully, which is making sure that our buildings are running. It's making sure our members understand that they come first. It's ensuring that our buildings are full and that we're driving high revenue. And it's making sure that we continue to provide an experience and a level of hospitality that our other operators don't provide, which I truly believe helps us stand out from the competition. And I will, of course, provide strategy to my team. I will provide priorities. With my marketing manager, she's incredible. One of the things that she and I will do every month, give or take, is we'll be like, what are the priorities for the month? I will shift and adjust for her, so we make sure that she's running in the right direction. And then she goes and she absolutely crushes it, right? And with my senior leaders, that's kind of what I do in our one-on-ones as well. I'm like talking about your priorities. What do you need my support in, right? I end every single one-on-one with, is there anything I can help with? Is there anything else you need from me? Because at the end of the day, my job is to make sure that they are set up for success. If they win, they're winning. If they mess up, or they fail, that's on me. That's not on them. That's on me 100%. And it's my job to make sure that doesn't happen.
So I love that. And so you've already talked about the progress that has been made from 2023 to the end of 2025. So I am going to ask, what is Mr. Mark Goldfinger in the next 12 to 24 months? What would success look like from your vantage point for your team and what you're building over at Mindspace?
Yeah. So I'm going to push it out a little bit more because I
Okay.
think what my true success, what I really want us to be, is going to take more than 24 months to hit. Mindspace started about 12 years ago as a boutique flexible office space provider, right? We had our first locations in Israel. Then we found an incredible partner to grow the business in Germany. We continued scaling across Europe, Amsterdam, Romania, Poland. And then in 2018, we started to expand into the US. Up until this year, the US was either our fourth or fifth largest market from a revenue perspective. I say this with a smile, but everyone knows this at HQ. I want the US to be the largest market within Mindspace. Right now, Germany is the largest, and then Israel, and now the US. We surpassed the UK earlier this year. The UK GM and I have a very friendly competition going. So I'm very happy I can't wait to see him in January. But I want us to be the largest market because I truly believe that the flexible workspace solution for the US and Mindspace is untapped, right? We are really still at the beginning stages of what Mindspace can achieve in the US. And success for me over the course of the next 12, 24, 36 months looks like a way for me to continue showing and proving to HQ that the US should be our largest market.
Okay, so I love that you have the ambitious goal there. And then I know that athlete in you, that competition. You're like, hey, UK, it's friendly
We're coming.
competition, but there's still competition. So just be aware. So by the time this episode is released, you've probably had that conversation, and we know there's going to be some great energy there.
Absolutely.
Mark, I heard you say something earlier just now. You talked about the boutique flex space, and then you've mentioned already a couple of times about the experience.
Yeah.
So would you talk about this piece here, that what Mindspace is doing that's different from others in the space? You're really focusing on the experience, and that's your product more than just the room or the physical space. Would you share what you think that Mindspace does different than other competitors that are in that space, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, there's a dozen operators around the US, if not more. There's actually a lot more. Let's call it a dozen for the sake of this conversation. Everyone provides a desk, a chair, a lockable filing cabinet, a trash bin. Everyone provides coffee, some sort of fruit water, sparkling water in a common area, right? That's standard in coworking. What makes you a premium operator is your fit out, your build out, the way in which when you walk around, beautiful exposed red brick, nice couches, elevated coffee experiences, a barista, networking events, food and beverage opportunities. And then I would say there's, let's call it half a dozen of truly boutique premium operators out there. Now, to step up even further, it's about the experience. The experience is how you are going to separate from the other players out there. And that starts with when a member or a guest or a potential lead walks in the space and how they are made to feel. We know all of our members by name. We know what they're working on, right? Hey, Neil, how was your weekend? How was your child's soccer game, right? You know how you were having that issue with an engineer, 2 weeks ago? Did you get that solved? Because if not, I actually know this company that's run by Eve down the hall from you. She actually has a ton of engineers that they work on side projects. I can make that introduction. So all of a sudden now you're coming into a space that you feel excited about. You feel like you're seen. You remember, you look like you're about my age, right? You remember the old show Cheers, where everyone wants to you want to go a place where right? Where everyone knows your name. And that's what we really see at Mindspace, which I think helps separate us. I had a offsite, this will air in January. I had an offsite in December with my team. I brought all of my direct reports for one day, and we walked through what our North Stars are, and we walked through how important hospitality and experience is. And then I had a similar meeting with the entire US team the day after. We all hung out, celebrated our successes. But one of the things that I called out was an amazing quote that I saw. It was like, Hospitality is the difference between a place people visit and a place people return. And this just really stuck with me. And I, I will push my team on revenue and I will push my team on profitability. And we need to be really smart with our OpEx costs and everything. But at the end of the day, we can never lose sight of our hospitality and the experience we provide to our members, because this is what keeps them coming back every single day. This is what keeps them talking to their friends about where they work and how they're inspired and engaged and energized. And this is what I want us to live and breathe as we move into next year.
Where does that commitment to that elevated boutique premium experience? Because there are easier, cheaper,
100%.
so where does that drive to be that thing and to serve that caliber? Where does that come from? Not only personally for you, but for HQ at Mindspace to say, we're not for everyone. We want those people who are looking for that something extra, that something special. Where does that drive and that decision come from to do the hard but necessary thing to elevate not only what you do, but what your members experience?
It comes from the top, right? This is something that really comes from the top. Dan, who's our CEO and co-founder, he and his partner Yotam truly believe in the experience and hospitality. And when they're hiring, this is like, it stems all the way down. It trickles all the way down. Everyone who joins Mindspace is here because they want to give back from a culture and experience perspective, right? Like, we're not a hedge fund. We don't pay an absorbent amount of money to our employees, right? If they want to go somewhere else, they can. I hope they don't. I love my team. I'm so impressed with the way in which they've stepped up and grown. And I want all of them to be here as we continue to build this. But they could, right? We're not paying, as I said, large amounts here. So they want to be here. They see the value that we give to our members. And it starts, like I said, from the top all the way down to our GMs, to our city leads, to our site managers, to our community managers, to our community associates. I actually, I try to be part of the entire interview process. When we're hiring, I realize I sometimes slow it down because I don't need to be interviewing, junior members of the team. I need to trust my senior leaders to do that. But I love hiring community associates who sit at the front desk because I think they have the best job. They get to be the first point of contact for our members and our guests. And they set the stone. They set the stage, right? They set the tone, they set the stage. If someone walks in and you go to hotels right now, you check into the hotel and the receptionist is typing away on the computer, not looking up. You're like, excuse me, hello. But if you come in and the receptionist looks up immediately and is like, good afternoon, sir, how are you? Or ma'am, right? Or, hey, how's everything going? How can I help you today? You're like, all right, this place is cool. Like, you set that stage. So I think that's how we drive that. So it's a little long-winded, but
No, so that is perfect. And that leads me into the next question. You mentioned what Mindspace is doing across global markets, and you mentioned that it starts from the top. So what are those non-negotiables that you're responsible for protecting across markets, right? What are those things that you have to say are not going to give in? We're not going to negotiate on these standards right here.
So funny you asked that question. So I just went and got a second notebook. I'm a big notebook person. I'm also a big Post-it person. My team makes fun of me for all my Post-its. But as I mentioned, we did the senior leadership offsite last week. And we talked about our different languages and how we need to communicate with each other and what our energy levels are. And one of the things we took away with was, what are our non-negotiables? Right? And how can we make sure that we don't sacrifice this for anything as we move into next year? And the kind of like 3 or really kind of like 5 non-negotiables were: we need to be present, attentive, and respectful. We need to share what's on our plate. We need to show that we're vulnerable by sharing mistakes when we make them. We need to raise our hand and have better responsiveness when we're not on time for something and we can't deliver something correctly. We need to make sure that we recognize and provide great experiences, not only to our members, but also to ourselves. And we need to improve on our responsiveness, and we need to explain the why. And I think if we stick to these non-negotiables, then that is going to trickle in to the way in which we show up every single day, which will automatically have an impact on our overall members.
Man, that's good stuff. And we couldn't have scripted that any better, Mark. So
No, that was not one of the questions you had like sent over earlier. This was awesome. I love that. This is why I write things down in my note. That was
and
amazing.
So for the team who is watching or listening to this, stop giving Mark a hard time for his notebooks and his post-it notes. So Mark, now I want to talk about you in your role as a leader right now. You overseeing U.S. operations and growth. If you would be vulnerable, and you talk about vulnerability, what are the hardest decisions that you have to repeatedly make in your role to move the company, to move the U.S. market to that place where you see it being a few years down the line?
On the vulnerable side, it's the people. This is one of the things that I think I'm really, really hard on myself on.
Mm-hmm.
I advocate and I fight very, very hard behind the scenes for my team. I want to make sure that they're getting the recognition and I want to make sure that they're happy. And I think as a leader, one of my flaws is that I sometimes try too hard to make a team member happy. And you want your team to be happy, right? And you want to find ways to motivate them and coach them. But at a certain point, someone's job is their job, right? Now, I'm not saying that every job has to fit inside a square box. Maybe the box has some points and you push out the boundaries a little bit. But at a certain point, you can't give someone everything if it's so out of the realm of like what the job is. And I think sometimes I try to make that happen. And I think my boss actually does a really good job at being like, Mark, enough, stop. It doesn't work. And I'm like, you're right. And I need that. And I think this is probably one of the things that I struggle with the most. When I first joined, I remember having a call with another GM. He's no longer with the company. But I had a call with the GM and I was like, where do you spend most of your time? And he was like, people. And I was like, okay, like, I'm not sure why. I feel like we got sales to do, we have operations. And as I continued to really grow in this role, and as I continued to watch the team be able to do what they needed to do without me being, without me breathing down their neck, I realized that people really are where good leaders should be spending most of their time. So that's where I think that's what I would say.
All right. So, and you mentioned that you advocate for your team, for your people, you want them to get recognition. And so now I want to talk about that exact thing, that delegation piece of what it is that you do, and not that you're doing things for them, or not even that you are taking ownership. But I want to talk about, you mentioned that people can know what a good leader looks like. And so I want to talk about delegation that works and how do we build that trust without just handing off tasks. So when it comes to you and your team that are around you, what are the criteria that you've put in place for trusting someone with what might be considered a critical function? If you would share that with us, Mark.
So I think taking a step back, one of the things, and this is one of our non-negotiables, right? It's explaining the why. We need to make sure that as a leader, we communicate to our team the rhyme and reason behind the task that someone's being asked to do. Now, excuse me, if I say, Neil, I need this report. You're like, can't you pull the report yourself? Like, why? Like, yeah, sure. Like, I report to you, so I'll pull the report for you, but like, what's going on? But if I say to you, like, hey, Neil, we're going into a huge meeting tomorrow with our CEO. I want to show, or I want to be able to demonstrate and back up with numbers the incredible sales that you and the team have done so that I can make sure we're giving the credit to the right people. And I want to make sure that like I have the data so that it helps us when we ask for extra headcount. Right. All of a sudden you're like, cool, I'm being part of like helping prepare our GM for something a little bit bigger so that the overall team could grow. Now, I'm still going to get the exact same report from you, but you're going to have a different response to how you do it because you understand why. Now, sometimes the response might be, Neil, I just need the report. Like, stop asking fucking questions. Sorry, I hope it's okay to curse. But it happens, right? But if you can explain the why, the other person understands what you're thinking and you can start building the trust.
Mhm.
And in that, I also said, hey, I have this meeting tomorrow. So you now know that this is an urgent thing versus like if I said I need it in a week. So there's the timing. So now I can see how quickly you can also deliver it on, which allows me to build even more trust in you. So as we continue to grow and as we continue to have other opportunities, I know that you are someone I could continue to count on. So I think when it comes to delegation, explaining the why behind it really helps open up the doors and separates from like my manager's asking me to do another dumb task versus like I'm helping be part of the larger picture.
I love it. So we have our audience who are entrepreneurs, business owners at different levels. How do they, or if you could share how you've used this in your business when it comes to the communication of the why, the ask to do the thing, and then the feedback, because we know that we must monitor, we must inspect what we expect. How do you fit that feedback piece into? You've communicated the why, you've made the ask to do the thing, and whether it was good or bad, the execution of your request. How does it feedback fit into your loop and what and how you're interacting or leading your team members, Mark?
Yeah. So it comes down to, I think, one on ones, right? I have one on ones with all of my direct reports every single week. Some of them are longer than others. Some of them will be 10 minutes. Some of them will be an hour. The one on ones are a great opportunity to not only help delegate and talk about priorities, but also to give and receive feedback, right? Feedback needs to go both ways. We talked about building trust earlier. Like it needs to be that, like, hey, Neil, like the report you gave me wasn't good. Like it didn't help do what I needed it to be done. I had to go pull it myself. Here's why. Now, so I gave you the feedback, Neil, but also I'd say like, hey, like, was something not clear? Like, I'm going to assume you didn't mean to give me a bad report,
Hmm.
right? Like, you have to assume good intention. So, was I not clear on what I needed? Like, did you have other things and I didn't express like how much priority this needed to take? Like, let's make sure that we give each other feedback. I also think that's on like specific tasks. I also think one of the things I try and do, and maybe I could do this more, or maybe I don't do it as clearly as I think I can, but every, let's call it 6 months, we have performance reviews and I sit down with my team and I go through in person everything that, we talk about, how they could grow, where I want to see them improve. And I ask them, and I'm like, what do you need from me to continue to succeed? Do
Hmm.
you feel that you're getting the support you need from me as your manager and leader so that you could continue growing? And I think sometimes it puts them on edge and they're like, yeah, yeah, of course. No, everything is great. But I can also tell when I'm like, are you sure? Like, is there something else you want to share with me? And what I found is that like the people who are in the most senior seats on my team, who I like trust the most, they'll be like, hey, like, I didn't really like how you handled that with me like 2 weeks ago. Like, could we talk about that? Like, I felt like a little bit like put off. And then we could hash it out. Maybe I was having a bad day, maybe this, maybe that, whatever the reason is. But understanding that feedback from them allows me to also grow and be a better leader.
What you just said, I want to ask because we have those who became entrepreneurs because they didn't like the feedback that they were getting in corporate or formalized organizations. So let me ask, Mark, where is that willingness to accept the critique, the criticism, the feedback, and that loss of ego? Where does that come from that make you open? Because the title, the position says, well, I am the and I share information down. That's the old traditional mindset and thought
Right.
of leadership. Where does that willingness come from for you to say, hey, give it back to me? And I know you continue to mention this word trust, especially with those people that are high in your organization. So, how do we as entrepreneurs, as leaders, as business owners, become accepting and receptive of that critique, that feedback coming from our direct reports?
Yeah. So a few things. So one, you said that's the old mindset of leaders. I think that's the old mindset of managers. Managers are like, this
Yeah.
is it. And they report out. Leaders, by calling yourself a leader, you want to be looked up to. You want to lead. You want to build that relationships, which was the first thing that you and I talked about today with your team. Right. And I think that really starts with how you lead and interact with the team by listening and by opening yourself and by being vulnerable, right? One of our non negotiables, by being vulnerable, owning your mistakes, the team sees and recognizes and appreciates that. And you don't get mad when you're like, don't tell me what to do, Neil. If I tell you what to do, like, I gave you perfect advice. Like, this is what you should have done. You didn't do it correct. You didn't execute. Like, all right, you're never going to give me feedback again. But if I'm like, no, Neil, like, you're right. Like, I could have adjusted the way I communicated that to you. I was actually having a bad day. Or, you know what? I don't have an excuse. You're right. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you feel that way. And sometimes you need to swallow your own pride. I had a situation about 6 months ago with someone on my team where I realized that, like, in order to get past this, I needed to swallow my ego and pride on this one. And even though I felt like we were both in the wrong, I realized that I was not going to prove my point.
Mm.
And I need to be like, you know what? You're right. I messed up. I'm sorry. I never meant for like it to impact your feelings. I didn't mean for it to go down this route. Let's start over. Let's start this project from scratch because I do believe in it. Here's why. And I had to swallow a lot of that. And it's
Mhm.
not fun, right? Especially like as a leader or as an athlete or as a competitive person. No one wants to swallow their pride or their ego, right? Or swallow a bunch. Like, but you have to do it. And I think, me and that employee were able to build an even stronger relationship post that because they saw that like I was willing to admit that mistake. And I think that really goes a long way with your team.
Man, I'm loving everything that I'm hearing from Mr. Mark Goldfinger. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you check out the show notes, the description, so you can see everything that Mark's doing, all of the contact information, social media, more information and access to Mindspace is there. So as we continue, Mark, I know that things have changed. And we're not just going to talk about pre-COVID versus post-COVID, but what you're doing is still, you mentioned that there's a lot of space, there's a lot of upside for Mindspace here in the US. What are things, or can you share them, maybe some items or things or thoughts that maybe some of your members are expecting from Mindspace going forward in 2026, and some pivots or changes that you all have had to make and implement that weren't around in 2023 when things weren't hitting and that occupancy
Yeah.
was low? Because just from hearing the numbers and having the conversation with you, I know you're looking back to see what didn't work, but you're not just saying, well, we have to be entrenched here. You're making adjustments. And I know feedback, even from the members or those that you did not convert over and to get them into membership yet, is a big deal for you. So what are some things that you're hearing that's helping you guide and shape your upcoming 48 months?
So love the question. Two sides of the coin. One is our premium product. We need to elevate it, right?
Wait,
We
wait,
need
wait,
to
wait, wait, wait. Even though, so you all are already elevated. Ladies and
100%,
gentlemen, I want you all to hear what Mark is saying. You
100%,
all are elevated already, and you're still saying there's another notch, there's another level.
100%, 100%. I mean, Neil, there's always another level, right? Look at the airline industry. Look at the airline industry, right? You have like what first class is in the US. If you've been, fortunate enough to fly it, or if you get a lay flat bed, it's super nice. You get on a Delta. I'm a big, big Delta guy. I apologize, my plug to Delta. But you get on a Delta plane, it's really nice. You get your welcome drink. You're like, all right, this is cool. Lay flat bed, maybe if you're flying, transatlantic or international. But then you go out to Asia and you get, or the Middle East, and you get on Emirates or Qatar or Singapore Air, you are blown away. You almost can't go back to a domestic plane. You're like, what is this? This is champagne? This tastes horrific. This is sparkling wine, right? So you can always elevate your product, and you need to know that as the CEO or as the owner of whatever that business is, that you can always drive to be a little bit better, right? You can always continue to enhance your offering. So on one hand, we need to elevate our office offering. So instead of the nice black frames and the frosted glass and, the light wood desks that have been around for a decade plus at this point, let's create nicer offices. Let's create different functions within that office. Maybe someone wants the ability to buy a standing desk from us. So when they come in, there's already a standing desk there. Maybe people want to go through a catalog and say, you know what? I want an office of this size, but I only want 3 desks in it and I want a couch. Can you help me offer? Maybe instead of the frosted glass, I want sheetrock on both sides and maybe some light wood in front to make it like kind of really premium. So there's like that premium aspect within the offices. Then on the other hand, and I think our members can expect that as we continue to grow in the US, it's something that our CEO and our head of projects and operations were already talking about. I'm
Mhm.
already mystery shopping other operators and seeing what they do and taking bits and pieces because I think what they're doing is really good. You need to know what the competition is doing. Otherwise, you can't improve. Then, so that's going to be coming as we continue to grow. I'm not going to change our current offices to that, but as we continue to build, we'll have Mindspace 2.0, let's call it. But what we can do in our current offices, I love your mug, by the way. I don't know if people see the video, but it's like basically his face and a bow tie. It's when you're drinking, it's phenomenal. In our existing spaces, we can elevate the more touch offerings. Like, what kind of breakfast do we offer? Can we enhance this offering? What kind of networking events do we do? What kind of lunch and learns can we do? Can we bring a barista in maybe twice a week where our members don't have to pay for the coffee because they're already paying a premium price for their offices? So as we continue to move through the first half, as we continue to move through the first half of 2026, our members will be able to see very quickly an elevated F&B offer.
And so here's where what I want to ask, because you all are already elevated. What's a misconception that those who have not experienced the flex space, co-work space, what's a misconception that you're aware of or that you're hearing that you at Mindspace are working to combat for those who are considering, or they're saying, well, no, it's just I walk into this one big room and it's going to be noisy. So what are some of those misconceptions or myths that you all are having to overcome on a regular basis?
I'm too large of a company for co-working space.
Let's go right there. Keep
This
going.
is my favorite one. No, I don't believe in co-working. I'm way too large of a company. First of all, you only have 65 employees, so you're not that large, respectfully. But co-working has this like misconception that there's still beers on tap and tequila shots on Tuesday night and all of this like fun party frat boy-esque energy. And that's not the case, right? People come in here to work, to hustle, to bring their business to the next level. We have companies, we have Fortune 100 companies here. We have one of the largest cruise lines in the country working out of one of our spaces. We have one of the top airline companies in the United States who have offices out of one of our locations, right? We have global organizations who are looking for whether it's swing space, whether it's satellite offices, whether it's ways in which to reduce their overhead and don't need 100,000 square feet of real estate on their P&L. They want to find a flexibility option. All of these companies turn to operators like Mindspace because they know that they can get great value from us. They could see and have their employees have a great experience with us, and they could save a ton of money. So I think one of my favorite things to combat, and I've been doing this now for over a decade, is that I'm too big to be in a co-working space. And
Late
I don't think there are companies that are really bigger than Apple and Meta, because if they can work out of a co-working space, I think we all can.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're listening to having a conversation with Mr. Mark Goldfinger from Mindspace, head of operations here in the US. So you're going to want to make sure that you follow, connect, and see everything that he's doing and that they are doing as a team.
It's all
Now,
they. It's all they. It's
so
not
it's
me.
all day.
I
So
sit back.
so another, and I know you say it with a smile jokingly, but you do mean it, as all great leaders do. Talk about the importance and the impact, if you would, if you're open to that, your team allows you to really operate at a high level because they are doing that hard, necessary, gritty work, and they're executing that at such a high level.
It comes back to trust, right? Like, I know that they're going to get the job done. So I know that we need to sell X amount of desks this month, right? I love to sell. I am a born and bred salesperson. We could talk for hours on
Yeah.
my love to negotiate. My wife gives me so much crap for it because I try and negotiate everything.
Everything.
It's
It's
fun.
who you are.
It's who I am. Like, we'll be at a hotel. I'm like, are there any upgrades? And the guy will be like, yeah, for $200, you can have an ocean view. I'm like, how about 125? And 9 out of 10 times, the guy's like, let me talk to a manager. Sure, we can do that. And my wife just looked at me. She's like, how? And I'm like, because it's not their money. They have the availability. So they want to try and make some sort of revenue off of it. So you ask. It never hurts to ask. Anyway, I digress. Uh, I trust that my head of enterprise is going to go out and close these deals, and I don't need to be on top of him every single day. So if he's doing that and my site managers are running the building smoothly and I don't need to be on top of them, I can take a step back and focus on the larger opportunities, on convincing HQ that the US needs to continue growing, on figuring out new creative initiatives that I want us to roll out in the new year so that I can build out kind of a plan, deliver it to the team, and let them go and execute on it. I think we talked about trust, we talked about vulnerability, we talked a little bit about ego on this one. I don't need the credit. I'm already in my role, right? I have my seat at the table. They gave that to me because of the work that I've gotten credit for in the past. I want to be behind the scenes. I want to help create the idea of what we can achieve and then let the team go and get it. And when they do, they should get the credit for it. They're the ones hustling every single day. One of the greatest lines of someone who was a manager and now has become a very good friend and mentor of mine told me when I first became my first like manager. He said, Mark, when the team succeeds, the team succeeds. When the team fails, you failed. And this was told to me when I was 25 years old. So I just turned 37. So 12 plus years ago. It stuck with me since then. And it really is true. Like they get the credit. They're doing the work. That's not my job. My job is not to take the credit from them. Those are managers who take the credit from their team. Leaders allow their team to get that credit. And I think going back to your initial question, sorry, these are so fun to answer. Like you asked me what I think my job was, right?
Mhm.
And I think the other aspect of where my job comes into play is I need to fly at 30,000 feet, but I need to have the ability to drop down in different pockets of the business to coach and work and help roll up my sleeves and get something done or make sure things stay on track. And then I get to fly back up and hover and then look at what other areas of the business I need to drop into. And I think because I trust the people on the ground and because they do such an incredible job, it allows me to stay at that.
Man, this is great stuff. And so, one, I want to tell you thank you for continuing to share. And so, I'm loving all of this because I get to listen to it live now. I also get to listen to it in post production. And then I get to take more notes when I actually go back and listen to it after it's published. And so, I'm going to implement and apply a lot of this stuff to my business. There is this dirty word that you continue to say and you cannot get away from it. And that word is trust. Okay. Now we're here on Beyond the Velvet Rope. People want to go farther than they are right now. They want to get into those rooms where maybe there's this velvet rope that's keeping them out of. And oftentimes we are aware that trust is the only thing that can get you into some of those rooms, right? So in your experience, if I have an entrepreneur who's listening to Mark today and they're saying, Mark, what are a handful of things that can help me get into an elevated room where the conversations are different, where the environment is different? What are those things that might help build trust the fastest or have the greatest impact or likelihood in me changing my environment?
Speed of execution and delivering on what you say you will. Right? If you say, "Yep, Mark, I will have that report to you," and you don't get it to me, I don't trust you. Right? Maybe you messed up once, but it happens a second or third time. You're not going to be, you're not going to be in the room where it happens. You're not going to be part of those conversations because you haven't given me a reason to trust you. Right? I said to our when I was hired, I think I had like 12 rounds of interviews. And I made it really clear to our CEO that I was like, I'm not coming here to manage 6 locations. I'm coming here to help show you that the US should be your largest market. Now, that doesn't happen overnight. It won't happen in 2 years. It will happen over the course of 3, 4, 5, 6 years. But first, I'm going to prove to you that I'm the right guy for that job. And that's what I've come and done. And because I've built that trust, because I've delivered on what I promised I was going to do, it allows our CEO and the executive team to trust me to help get the job done and to do what I need to do to make that happen. And with that trust, I'm able to operate a little bit more efficiently. I could operate a little bit more on my own with the team and give the direction. I don't need to run back and forth to HQ on every decision, but that takes time. You also can't rush earning trust, right? For me, the way I lead is like, if I hire you, I trust you, and then it's yours to lose, right? And every time you kind of do something that isn't the right thing to do, or we both know it, you lose a little bit, and it's really hard to build it back. But for some leaders, you need to earn their trust. And that, again, it's earned the same way by delivering on what you promise you're going to execute on.
Man, that speed of execution is a big deal. I always think about the
Huge.
speed. I always think about the speed of trust. But then I was fortunate enough to have my father in my life for a very long time before he passed in 2000. And he would always say, turn thoughts into actions faster. So we just execute faster than anyone else can think. So now we're going to pivot as we get ready to close here into this athlete that you are. Not that you used to be, sir, that you are, because we know that athleticism oftentimes is a mindset. So I mentioned, and in doing my research, I know you were a collegiate tennis captain, correct?
Correct.
So I believe that I'm going to say all evaluated experience is valuable. So you being a tennis captain, what has that done for you in the role that you are occupying now at Mindspace?
Motivating and leading by example, right? And, I was on my tennis team. God, it pissed my coach off so much. So I was on my tennis team. My coach and I did not see eye to eye. And the coach asked everyone to nominate who they wanted to be captain. And it was pretty much unanimous. And coach was like, all right, did you guys nominate? And they were like, Mark. And he was like, really? Seriously? I was like, all right, well, this is why you and I don't see eye to eye, because I clearly should be captain. It's leading by example, right? I was not the best tennis player. I played, for anyone knows how tennis works in college, is you have 6 matches going on at a time. You play, your best player plays 1 singles, your second best plays 2 singles, 3 singles, 4 singles, 5 singles, 6 singles. I was fighting almost every week to play in the 6 singles spot, right? Like I was not the best, but I showed up to practice every day, 15 minutes early, gave every single day in practice my all. I left it all out on the court. It didn't matter, right? And that's like what a leader does, right? When we were down, I was motivated. I was cheering. I was like helping push the team to be a little bit better. And I think that's, you talked about your father, and this is, I also, unfortunately, like you, our fathers passed too soon, but they clearly left, you and thankfully myself with great advice and great role models to look up to and to aspire to be. That was what my dad had always taught me. You show up for those around you, right? And I think that is something that I've also really tried to do. And I've translated that from before tennis in college to now, and something that I hope to do, really going back 52 minutes to where we started this show, is showing up for my daughter and showing up for my wife, right? And Aaron Sorkin, I think one of the greatest writers for television and media. The West Wing is unbelievable. The newsroom is phenomenal. But one of the things that Aaron Sorkin actually wrote President in the West Wing to say, and then reset it at his commencement speech at Syracuse, was that decisions are made by those who show up. And that is something that is so valuable to me. So show up for your team, show up for your people, show up for your family. And the rest will follow. People will see that you show up for them, and it will go really long.
All right. So this has been a fantastic conversation. I've loved every moment of it. However, I do want to say, I thought that you were a sane guy, a sane individual, until I learned
I am not.
that you are a marathon runner. All right. And so and that is a different level of insanity. So we know that. And so it's one thing to run a marathon. It's something different to train for a marathon. So you're out here beating your mind and your body to prepare for this thing that most of us would consider arduous and just totally unnecessary, right?
To be fair, Neil, I agree with all of those statements. I just want to be like really, really clear. This is unnecessary to do, and to go on and do 8 of them is also unnecessary. Continue.
Okay, no, so thank you. See, ladies and gentlemen, this is why we only bring the best on Beyond the Velvet Rope. So he is in touch with reality. He just doesn't care.
100%.
And
100%.
so I want you to share something with us that many of us have not experienced physically, but maybe in business, maybe in relationships. And maybe when you're talking to your daughter, when she watches this or hears about this years down the line, it's that mindset of, so you've done 8 marathons, correct?
Correct.
What happens? How do we get to that? How do we get through that mile 18 where now we've hit the wall and it's just, I mean, it was never fun, but now it's just like horrendous. It's just horrible. And we're not only talking in business, but in life, relationally, in the personal goals that we have. What have you used? What have you learned? Maybe something that you could share with the Beyond the Velvet Rope audience to let them know that no, it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be all champagne and breaking the tape once we hit that invisible wall, sir.
Smile through the pain.
Do you mean that, Mark? Do you really mean that?
I do. You got to grit through it. And so Eliud Kipchoge, easily the fastest man alive, right? Broke the record, showed us that man was 50 years ahead of where science expected man to be from a speed perspective, right? He ran the marathon in under 2 hours, 1:59. Unbelievable. He does this documentary and he says, it's so incredible. He smile when he's in pain and when he's gritting really tough and he has to dig really deep. He's smiling because he's so fortunate enough to be in the position to put himself through this pain. Now, think about that, right? Like, now, don't get me wrong. At mile 22, I am miserable, right? Like, this is like, why the heck did I do this? Why am I signing up for this? But it's not even that, right? It's the waking up at 4:30 in the morning, 4 a.m. in the morning. I do it for 12, 15, 16 weeks, right? My wife, like when I was ready to join, when I got the bid for New York, I just ran New York back in November. And before I accepted, I said to my wife, like, are we ready for this? Like, I need to make sure that you're comfortable with this. Like, because
Mark,
she
hold
wakes
on.
up too.
She's looking. She like we.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah. She knew it was happening because part of that goes back to communication, right? Part of this is going to fall on her. On the weekends, I wake up at 4 as well so that I can do my long run. So I'm back at home by 8:15 or 8:30. But our daughter wakes up at 7. So it means that again on Saturdays my wife has to do the breakfast, right? I can't start running at 3 a.m. It's too dark, right? There's a limit to my this is a choice we are making. And we are putting ourselves in a position to have this stress on our shoulders and to want what we've wanted for so long, which is to grow and build our career, that when you're fighting that wall, you just need to be able to like smile and be like, this is really tough, but I'm going to get through it. And I know I'm going to finish, right? Like I've never stepped up to the marathon line, to the start line and been like, I don't know if I'm going to finish the race today. I know every single time I'm going to finish. Now, maybe it's not my fastest time. Maybe it's slow. Maybe I have to walk. Maybe I get a really bad cramp, but I'm going to finish this race. And I know in life and in work and what I've set out to do with Mindspace, we're going to achieve it, right? Like we are going to get after it and things are going to come up. It might not work the same way, right? You know, people say man makes plan and God laughs. Like you'll roll with the punches, but we're going to continue to push and get through there. And it stays the same no matter what you're doing.
I want to tell my friend, whoever the UK manager is from Mindspace, we're going to finish. So your days are numbered, sir.
I like it. I like it.
So we are coming. I am team Mark Goldfinger. I'm team Mindspace US from this day
Appreciate it,
forward.
Neil.
As much fun as we've had, I do need to ask your permission to have a little more fun in the next 2 minutes. Are you willing to do that, sir?
Let's do it.
All right, I did not send this information over to your team, so you have no idea what we're doing right now, but this is our rapid fire round. My legal department, who does not really exist, did let me know that I must inform you that you are not legally obligated to answer any of these questions. Clear?
Understood.
All right, so here we go. Favorite color?
Ooh, green.
Why?
I just love green. Like it's just a color that I think I look good in green. I like it. Like I like green.
Favorite food?
Sauces, condiments.
Hold on now, you've got to elaborate. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Goldfinger's favorite food are condiments. So are you want to know?
Everyone knows that I'm a sauce man. Food is simply a vehicle for me to get different sauces into my body.
So we see Mark sitting down and they say, well, would you like this or this? You're saying yes and both, please. I want all the sauces you have.
All the sauces. All the sauces.
All
and
right.
my biggest pet peeve is when restaurants charge like an extra $1 for an extra sauce because I'm going to do it. It doesn't discriminate me or deter me from ordering the extra sauce. And I just get annoyed because I'm like, just take the money.
But here's the worst part, especially someone who offers a premium elevated experience. You're saying, we're already just going to order anyway.
Correct.
So just build this in two and make
Correct.
me feel as if, look, I love the way you think. Ladies and gentlemen, restaurateurs, if you ever have Mark Goldfinger in your restaurant,
give him sauce.
Just give him the sauce. It doesn't matter.
Give him the sauce.
Do not get stuck on the minute details.
Thank you.
Superman or Batman?
Batman.
Why?
One of my best friends loves Batman, so I defer to him.
Listen, he says, I'm going to delegate the superhero conversation. Best friend, if we're Batman, we're riding together. I can tell what kind of friend you are. You're that guy that said that if he calls you 3 a.m., you're not going to get him to go running, but he said, hey, Mark, I need your help. He says, hey, I'll meet you there. I absolutely
100%.
love that. Now, I do appreciate you thinking that we're the same age. You're so kind, but we're not. I'm a little bit older than you. So I appreciate that. So I'm going to ask a question. You might not have an opinion of this, but Mickey Mouse or Bugs Bunny?
Bugs Bunny.
So you know who Bugs Bunny is then?
Yeah, of course.
Don't say of course, Mark. You have people working for you right now with you that have no idea who Bugs Bunny is.
Hey, I don't want to talk about that. That makes me like, I at our offsite last week, someone told me that they were 23 years old and I lost it. I was like, I can't do this right now.
So even as a young-ish man, I think we both are, when you hear someone that's born and the first date of their year is 2, you're saying, wow. Like if someone born in the 2000s is wild, right? And now
like 2007 and 8. I'm like, I was in college. Next question.
All right. What is one skill or talent that Mark does not have that he wish he did?
I wish I could speak other languages. I wish I could speak other languages.
So Mark, I'm with you. I tell everyone that English is my second language. The problem is I don't have a
100%.
first one, right? So
100%.
I am trying to learn English. So let's park right there. Just imagine what we could do if we could speak that other language. Oh, we would be a problem.
Unbelievable problem.
So I could tell that you are a learned individual. Now,
appreciate that.
Insane, but learned. What is your favorite book or favorite books or either author or something like that you just go to often?
I love reading like counterterrorism fiction books when I'm on vacation. Like, and I don't get to do it as much now because like my daughters are running around and I have to be a parent and on. But like sitting down with like a good like dad book, Vince Flynn is probably, and David Balducci are probably two of my favorite authors. David Balducci had a character named John Carr who had a series which I just absolutely loved. And Vince Flynn's I'm blanking on the main character of the series, but it's something that like I fly through these books.
Where did that come from?
My father. He loved reading. Anything he did, I wanted to do.
Anything he wants to do. So we look at our Superman. I'm very much the same way. I look at my dad. He's my Superman. He's my hero. What is
100%.
the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
For life and overall, it would be my dad's mantra that life, this isn't a dress rehearsal.
We got to play all out, man. This is our one shot at this thing. So
100%.
now you say your daughter's 18 months old. So we are 18 years down the line or 17 years down the line. She's 18 years old. What do you tell your daughter? If you have one conversation with her, what is that?
Willing, I'm there to continue showing up. Just be genuine. Like trust your gut, trust your instinct, and like go try and just make it a little bit better every single day.
Man, I absolutely love it. Final question. You might have an answer for this, you might not. I know you're doing a lot of things. You're raising a young one, so you might not have as much TV or movie time. But what is the one movie that, if it is playing, no matter the time of year, time of day, if you see it, you're going to, he might have it, that you're going to stop and watch a piece of it?
So for the sake of this podcast, I'm going to go with Rudy.
Really?
Yeah. I think that movie, like, first of all, I can't watch it and not tear up and cry. And my wife gives me so much crap about it. But Rudy is like, it's everything we've talked about for the last hour and 5 minutes, right, Neil? Like, it's about like determination, motivation, trusting yourself, pushing yourself to go a little bit further. And like, even after being shut down, building yourself, showing up, he got what he wanted, right? He showed up for the entire team. And after the team disrespected him, finally they all went there and they were like, this one's for Rudy. This one's for Rudy. And he got out there and he got to play. His parents didn't believe in him. His brothers didn't believe in him, but like he believed in himself. And like, it's just such a powerful.
Well, I didn't like the movie as much until you just broke it down for me. Maybe it's just
Man, you got to
because
go watch
now,
it again.
so now I have to watch it through the eyes of Mr. Mark Goldfinger, who has become one of my favorite people in
I
just a
appreciate that,
matter
Neil.
of a few minutes. Before we close, Mark, is there anything that you want to say to the audience, to the listeners, or maybe to even some of your team who might be watching or listening to this podcast?
I doubt my team is listening because they're like, we hear Mark speak all the time. So rightfully so. All of the entrepreneurs and founders who are listening, like, thank you so much for listening and for tuning in for Behind the Velvet Rope. This has been absolutely phenomenal. But what I would really say to them is that, like, if you fall down, get back up. Like, this is your shot. It's your opportunity. Like, go after it. Don't doubt yourself and don't let other people doubt you. And if they are doubting you, find new people to hang out with.
Man, that is so good. Ladies and gentlemen, we have just sat for an hour plus with Mr. Mark Goldfinger of Mindspace, head of U.S. operations. Make sure you check out the show notes so you can see everything that they are doing to be successful. If you have questions, their contact info is there. If you're considering an elevated boutique, a premium workspace, and you're in some of those markets, at least have conversations with the team there. Who knows? You might be a catalyst for making a decision that brings Mindspace to a new market. So I know they're open to conversation. Mark and his team, they're open to feedback. So we want to welcome that. So Mark, I want to thank you for the privilege of your time. Thank you for making me a better leader today. And ladies and gentlemen, make sure you share this podcast. Make sure that you subscribe. And we read every comment. We respond because we are here to make you better. So until the next time, until the next episode, go beyond the velvet rope. Peace.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to Beyond the Velvet Rope. I appreciate you investing your time, your attention, and your energy into leveling up your life and business. If today's episode helped you, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and make sure you follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. For more tools on how to help you attract elite clients and build a business that belongs on the other side of the velvet rope, check out the show notes. You'll find my book, my website, and additional resources to go even deeper on this journey. Remember, I love you, God loves you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And until the next time I see you, or you see me, don't be average, be world renowned. Peace.